Madonna is about to embark on her greatest hits celebration tour, and fans are excited to hear all of her iconic tracks. And of course, when you think of all of her big tours, you think Blonde Ambition and the behind the scene documentary Truth or Dare. And that's where we first got to meet the seven male dancers, including Carlton Wilborn, who not only took the stage with Madonna, but is from Chicago. Carlton, it's so great to see you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Mr. Rudy, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
So we got to hang out, we got to chat when Strike a Pose, the documentary, came to the Chicago International Film Festival some 6, 7 years ago.
Well,
Let's talk a little bit about that film and how that maybe changed your perspective on everything with the tour and everything with the documentary.
it's a great question. Strike a Pose was, in so many ways, Rudy, it was really a game changer for me personally. I mean, it was, after so many years, 25, 27 years, it was from when we did Truth or Dare and Blonde Ambition to then when Strike a Pose dropped. And I've kept in touch with most of the guys. Kevin Stay and I are very, very close friends. So to just see that window of time, knowing where we were as, much more sort of baby stages, at least in regards to that scale of the project, right? But then also really to realize the impact that we all had, which I know for sure that none of us were that aware of. We got the reach out for Strike a Pose by the producing and directing team, Ryer Zwan and Esther Gold. They're both from Holland. And they basically hit us up in 2013 saying, hey, we've been following your careers for 7 years, unbeknownst to you. And da 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 da. We want to do this other doc that's, exclusively around honoring your voice as the men from that tour. And so to be able to have the opportunity to speak truth to what that journey back then was and what the unfoldment had been for all of us in our individual worlds and realms, it was awesome. It was awesome. It gave me a healing that I didn't know that I needed. Yeah, yeah. So
I mean, especially, the dancers meant so much to so many people. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's start back from the beginning. You in Chicago, let's talk a little bit about when you first Chicago, when you first got
Chicago.
because a lot of people dream of playing in clubs, obviously when they're of age, but you started performing for bar mitzvahs at the age of 13. How did that all happen?
And that's so random. My oldest brother, Augustus Jr., I don't really know, Rudy. I mean, to be really honest, all I know is all of a sudden we had a Saturday job. I never had any conversations with my brother about wanting to be a dancer. Like, it literally was not even a conversation. The only thing that was happening between he and I in our family was, so he was the oldest, I'm the baby boy. Then we have a brother, Tony, who's in the middle of us. And the three of us used to do the Jackson Five in our living room. That's all I have in my memory bank. And then poof, we had this job, but it was super great, man, because, so we basically would show up every Saturday at 12 o'clock for the bar mitzvahs, and we would teach kiddie disco lessons, and then we would have to perform two numbers that my brother choreographed. Didn't even know he was I mean, it's just bizarre. And for me, it just is such a testament to the God strategy, that he had all that in place, gave me all that early grooming, because that was even before I got to having structured dance classes at the Whitney Young Magnet High School, right? That's where I started studying movement and was part of my first dance troupe, if you will, called Guys and Dolls in high school. And we did these citywide dance competitions and we won first place for 3 years in a row. But I think that I was able to stand out in that way because I got primed doing my Saturday gig at Dingbats, which was a nightclub downtown. So, yeah.
In Franklin and Ontario, which is still a big area for nightclubs here in the Chicagoland area. But, obviously, as far as the most visual people know you, associated with Madonna, but we're also going to talk Paula Abdul. We're going to talk Whitney Houston. But since you mentioned Whitney Young, Michelle Robinson at the time was also a fellow student. Were you in dance class with her?
We were in dance class together. We were, and what's so amazing about, dude, you've done your research. I love you. I remember when President Obama was running for office, right? And found out Michelle Robinson, oh my God, she got the ticket, you know. And I remember going online and literally, I swear to God, there was a photo of her back then when he was running and she was just being introduced in that way, of her in the actual dance studio from Whitney Young, young girl in leotards and tights. And I just remember seeing that. And of course, probably a few days after that, a week for sure after that, they got bombarded with all kinds of other images. So it's been buried amongst the other ones. But yeah, we were in class together. And there you go. Whitney
Did you
Young
come
has
to class
produced some
reunions?
incredible.
Do you see? I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you saying?
No. I was just going to say that Whitney Young has produced some incredible figures in the world, between politics, between writing, between music, you know. So here we are.
Yeah, we got to give it up for Whitney Young, one of the best schools here in the Chicago area.
In the world.
In the world, yeah. What am I talking about in the Chicago area? In the world, of course, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As far as Michelle Obama, does she come to class reunions? Have you kept in touch? When was the last time that the two of you spoke?
You know what? I've never gone to a class reunion ever. I've never gone. So I don't know. No, I haven't not kept in touch. She and I were never friends at all, like on no level. Like I never had lunch with her or took the subway with her or anything like that. But I know that she was definitely in our classes. We're the exact same age, all that. But so, yeah, I would have no reason to keep in touch with her because I wasn't in touch with her really then personally.
Well, maybe she'll watch this and is like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I went to school with Carlton. I got to reach out, you know, we got to hang out or something.
We're all doing our thing, you know. It's all good. It will be amazing on the day that we do cross paths. That's going to be amazing. And so we shall see.
We shall see about that. Talk to me about your journey to Hollywood and leaving Chicago to go to LA. Was dance your specific thing that you're like, here's what I'm ready to go ahead and kind of put myself all into?
Yes and no. I mean, it was really spearheaded if we want to like go quickly deep, you know. So I was diagnosed HIV positive in 1985. Right. And that truly was the catalyst for me leaving Chicago. All truth on the table. I thought, oh my God, you know, it was such fire and brimstone then. It had only, you know, HIV, AIDS had only hit global pavement in 1982. And so I was diagnosed 3 years later. All the deaths and things of that pandemic back then, right, was hitting the world and hitting everybody. And I thought, oh my God, if this is what it's about. And you know, the death sentence thing was the conversation then. So it wasn't even like you had some meds to keep you going for much longer. And I thought, look, dude, you know, I knew that I wanted to act. I'd started acting in Chicago already. And I thought, you know, if you've got a time on your journey here on earth, then let's maximize it and do the best that you can for the short amount of time that you might have.
And make the most out of life. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's 34 years and I'm fully undetectable and healthy now and thriving in multiple realms. And so, yeah, but that's really what got me to LA and got me to Hollywood. But, you know, again, God's structure was amazing. I have a really dear friend who I literally just got to work with last week in Missoula, Montana. I was there for a big judging competition called Ballet Beyond Borders. And Charlene Campbell, who was originally a Rockette, what is also from Chicago. She and I were friends there. She choreographed her first feature film called Dance. It was myself, Johan Renvold from American Ballet Theater, and Ellen Troy from Twyla Tharp's company. The three of us are starring in it. That's what gave me the positioning to end up in LA, because I came out here in 1989, having starred in my own movie, having already done junkets, had tape for agents to have on me, and then poof, I started my acting career.
And then poof, Paula Abdul, American Music Awards. I went back and watched that performance. I mean, that was awesome.
Dude, listen, that was the gig to get back then for the men because seriously, so it was Paula Abdul, American Music Awards opening number, and it was her and 18 guys, 9 from the East Coast, strategic, 9 from the West Coast. And I remember being the dancer out here, and it was just like, you know, the LA dancers had always been known for really being sort of the show guys or the show dancers, male, female, it didn't matter. And back then we thought of the East Coast dancers, the New York dancers, as the, like, at least in my mind, I'll put it like that, as the technical ones that you had to meet and match. So here we go. it was going to be East Coast and West Coast brought together to do this big thing with Paula. We had a ball. So many of those guys, Aaron Cash, Nathan Prevost, are super dear buddies of mine today. They're doing cool things in their own right. And so, yeah, that was Paula. And it was great. And she and I have not kept in touch personally, but we've seen each other at several events and we have a nice hug. And so the memory is strong. Yeah.
I mean, because you think of who was popular back in 1989, 1990, you think Paula Abdul, she's still so active on social media now. Whitney Houston, there was just a movie about her life, and Madonna, going on this tour. Like, it's so crazy, those things that were so popular then, is that we are still talking about these iconic artists today.
Hallelujah. I mean, the Whitney thing for me, even though I didn't end up actually going on the road with her, but that was the first world tour that I actually booked. And then she was on hold. I've told the story, and in that 3-week window that she was, or in that however long we waited, all I know is she had put the tour on hold. M had her announcement for auditions. I was like, fuck it, I'll go. I got one in my pocket already. I did, and the rest is history. And obviously I got the gold mine because the relationship with Madonna for me, this is interesting, man. This is one of the first times out of all these years that I've talked about it, and it's made me emotional. It's the gift that continues to give, and it really is so true. And I want to clean this up for myself. I've been very, just for where my soul was for so many years, I was very apprehensive to embrace the family title that everybody said that we had. And I was like, it wasn't a family, it was a gig, and I did my gig, and I was all callous and bullshit. But the truth of the matter is, she really did create a family structure for us. And what I mean by that is that place where you can show your full self, for the good, the bad, the crazy. You will always have each other's back. That's how I feel about her. That's how I feel about the guys. And she was the spearhead for all that. And just the fact that it continues to serve. And, for someone like you with the platform that you have right now in the world to want to reach out to me after so many years because she's going back out, it keeps my name prominent, keeps me relevant. Strike a Pose did a whole bang factor, so I'm really, really grateful, dude. I'm really, really grateful.
I mean, especially when you think about that tour and you think about the documentary, especially at that time, there wasn't a lot of information. And like you said, the AIDS pandemic, HIV pandemic started in the early 80s. In 85, in the late 90s, there wasn't a lot of information. There wasn't a lot of resources available. And somebody like Madonna already had a ton of successful albums. She did not need to put herself out there to talk about
to be the advocate
back to the people that it was affected, to bring the dancers on tour, to be able to showcase this. She would have been successful without doing that, but just showing what it meant to the community on how she put herself out there. I think, especially to a lot of the younger fans and people who didn't readily get that information, that meant so much to so many people.
Look, absolutely, Rudy. And I was just having a conversation with a buddy of mine, but 3 days ago, some new stuff that she's got, some new images out, and he was on a thing about her, and and for whatever people's voice as a pushback against her has been, you got no legs to stand on, because seriously, and this is from having been on the inside, having had some degree of connection to it, and the hit-ups that I get on the regular I'm not lying, dude, like I'm almost on a weekly basis still from somebody that gets to say, from us and what she was the leader of to create, the world of difference that she's made for setting people free and helping people to embrace who they are and helping people's family to learn how to embrace who they are. Fuck what she's doing as a music artist, and people want to laugh and say she's too old to do this. And listen, the woman is the quintessential example of how to be free in your life and be a stand for the full amalgamation that we are, because all of us have many colors and a lot of tones to us, but most of us as people aren't as brave.
Right, so let's talk a little bit about getting the gig with Madonna, auditioning. Talk a little bit about maybe those first couple of rehearsals and connecting with the other dancers. I know it took you a while to say, we've become a family and it wasn't just a gig. But when did you know that there was something special between you and the other guys?
Hang on one second. I'm just okay. Um, when did I know that it was special? I mean, so let me start. I'd say even before we started the rehearsals, the moment that was special for me was when I got invited to her house just to connect with her after I got it. And she invited me to her house. I thought it was going to be a bunch of people there. It was not. It was literally she and I. She was like, "Do you want to have a glass of wine?" And it was just her way of going like, "Hey, who are you as a person?" And I was like, "Oh shit, I'm up in M's house." Like, "Oh my God," you know. And then the rehearsal. Look, here's a moment that was super cool. Like once we, I don't know, man. Like there were so many moments, but the moments that stood out the most for me beginning are the days when we would have our first moments of rehearsal. I mean, the dancers, that was fine. And then she was always choreographed separately and then brought into us, right?
Yeah.
So, it was the moments when she would come in, and I just remember, placing her, and they had her place, and now we're going to run it with her. And the way that she just like held her blocking nailed and knew exactly what to do, and like all that stuff was super cool. I mean, I was pretty isolated from a lot of the dancers, and so I don't know if you caught this in the other part that I was saying, before we had our technical issue, but you know, I never back then, up until a lot of years since, wanted to own the family thing, but that really is what we were, and she really created this way for all of us to be authentically wild and free and sometimes upsetting. And, but that's what the family does. And then you stand for the family and you have the family's back no matter what. So that was something that I wasn't so present to, Rudy, when we were in the midst of it. I really have come around to accept that. I really, back then, I guess for my own guard and my own ego or whatever the fuck, I was like, it's just a job for me. And I did my job and I showed up and I did my work. Nikki Harris and I, on the other hand, were really good buddies. And I guess really where I was coming from, which I learned from being a dancer in the dance company, I like the expanded perspective and psychology of people that were not dancers.
Yeah.
So generally for me going on the road, I was interested in hanging out with the crew. I was interested in hanging out with the singers because they just talked about bigger things than just dancing and just that thing. And that's, I was also the older one of the dancers. So anyway, that's where I kind of came from. Yeah.
And then speaking of you being a few years older than the other dancers, was that because you were the responsible one? You got to hold up Paula Abdul, you get to hold up Madonna. I mean, is that how you got that task?
I don't know. I mean, I think she just knew of my of what I had already done in the world. I mean, I was a professional dancer with the Premier Company of Chicago by the time she found me, right? And she knew that. So, I wasn't a club kid who just happened to be older. I was somebody that had already toured, right? I had already been doing interviews around the world because of the Hubbard Street Dance. It was called Hubbard Street Dance Company. It's now called Hubbard Street Dance Chicago. But I was their premier guy, their main principal dancer, for a few years before I even got to her and got out to Hollywood. So I had all that grooming inside of me, which she knew of because she does her history. So I think that that's how I got that role. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the tour because obviously people have their favorite Madonna songs. I have my favorite Madonna songs, but as far
Sure.
as like the ones you listen to and seeing the crowd reaction, did it give you a different perspective as like the impact of the tour and the certain songs, or was it just like a nonstop party from beginning to end?
Express Yourself. As much as I like that song, which I really did like that song when it came out, it was different for me also because, I got with Madonna knowing the impact of her at that time, but I wasn't that big of a fan of hers. I was interested in it because I knew the leverage it would give me. I was a black dude from Chicago, right? So the queen bee in my world, in my tribe, was Whitney Houston. Like, that's the gig that I thought. I literally just followed God's guidance. After I was on hold with Whitney and Madonna then said, I want you, I really had to go, okay, God, tell me which one of these I should take. So anyway, but when Express Yourself landed, it was a jam and dance hit. And do talk about the impact. I remember, because I was the very first person on the Blond Ambition Tour to enter the stage. I was the very first person walking all the way up stage, coming from stage right through underneath the scaffolding that would then level up, and I'm going underneath it, and then I would come down stage. Never did I imagine, never could I ever have imagined the scale of the screaming. And we had major, live band, crazy ass sound system, whatever. We could not hear the downbeat of that first thing when me and the guys do this pounding move and then jump in the air and do all this stuff. And I just was like yeah, it was like I had some hair slicked back, but it was like it was amazing. I was like, oh shit, you're on a ride right now, dude. Yeah, it was super fun. It was super fun.
That is awesome. As far as the new tour announcement, are you still like on a text chain with Jose and Kevin and Oliver? It's like does everybody like, oh my goodness, like it's cool that she's going back on tour? Is that like a thing with the dancers now?
Not so much.
Not so much.
No, I mean, I haven't been hitting them up about it, but like I have fans that hit me up about it. And it's interesting because Christopher Childers hit me up the other day going, tell me the truth. Because everybody keeps hitting me because Chris Childers and I did the girly show together. So again, I did the Blond Ambition Tour, and then I was the soul dancer that got invited back to do the girly show. I did the girly show tour. And so who Chris Childers and I did some incredible work on that. We did The Beast Within together. So grateful for that. He hit me up only like 2 days ago. So saying like, dude, on Facebook, dude, tell me the truth. I need to know. Everybody's blasting me up saying, you're going back on tour. Are you? And I was like, I haven't gotten that invitation yet, but it's very interesting. I've been getting hit up by people, not from the other dancers about it. And so I don't know where that rumor is coming from that I'm going back on the road. I mean, if she's got some surprise thing that she's going to drop somewhere in the middle of it.
If she asks, are you in?
Look, Em and I have an incredible time working together. And so it would be a lot of fun if it fits in with all the schedules and stuff. But, I'm really busy right now. I'm off to Thailand on the 3rd of February. I'm going to be there for 10 days, highlighted for a really incredible travel adventure show called Andiamo. It's a travel adventure series that's hosted by a travel expert named Donna Perkins. I'm doing that. And then I'm going to be in Milan in May, actually for my birthday. I'm judging, and then I get to do my life coaching program, Dance Formation. I've created the first ever movement-based through dance life coaching curriculum. So I'll be doing that in Milan. So, it's got to fit in. She's touring, she's traveling, I'm doing my thing. But in regards to like, would I love to work with them again if we get a chance? Absolutely. We're magic together, and we produce magic together. So.
And here's the thing too, is that I've been reading a lot of the comments on her posts about the tour and just some of the fan sites, and a lot of every other comment is bring back Niki and Donna, bring back the dancers. Are the dancers going to be part of it? Are Niki and Donna going to be part of it? I think when you think of all of her iconic songs, people don't just associate Madonna. They think of the whole, family at that time. And I think that's what stands out. And I think it would be a fun full circle moment for so many fans if that does end up happening in some kind of way.
I mean, it is seeing the fact that she's doing a celebration thing, it would be all kinds of insanity if she had moments for some of us to drop in. And again, but she's clever and she knows how to do all that. She might just be waiting for a moment. I don't know. As I said to Chris, I haven't gotten that call yet. We'll see, but we all were a really incredible team, and she always and has consistently continued to pick the best of the best.
Yeah.
And, I'll tell you what was lovely to see, which as far as I've followed her career, and I'm not like micro on it, but I do still track some things that she does, was when she got connected with Jose. and they
Yeah.
did all that work in New York. And and I did hit him up when I, because I happened to see an IG post of the two of them, and it was like a club scene, and they were dancing to, and I was like, wait, I know that profile. Was that fucking Jose? What? And I hit him up, and then I saw the thing that she did for Gay Pride in New York, and got him featured in such a great way. Like, I just thought that was amazing. Maybe he's going back out again. I haven't reached out to him. I don't know, or maybe he's choreographing some stuff for that tour. I knew that she had reached out to him, and he told me that she said that that there was more to come. So who knows? But I just think that that's amazing, and I think it said a lot about her, because I don't think anyone has ever known her to go back.
Yeah.
And so to see that he was really the first installment of her doing that with, I just think it's incredible, and he deserves it, because he and Lewis did such an incredible job choreographing Vogue and contributing to the iconic Vogue music video and all that Vogue has become around the world now. They headed all that, so he deserves all that, and it's super exciting. So
yeah, it was the premiere of Madam X when they showed the concert footage, and her and Jose were dancing together, and I think that just warmed so many people's hearts to see them
it was amazing
together, and they're like,
cool.
yeah,
it was so cool, and he's a really great guy, and Jose's got such a big heart, and getting to reconnect with the guys for Strike a Pose, we all got to get into each other at a different level, getting to do that. And I'm really grateful for that, because that, for me, I can say, is when I really realized how much heart I had for all of them, even though a lot of us don't keep in touch on the regular. So he's got a really big heart, and I'm glad that she was able to give him that gift, and he was able to be a gift back in her life in that way at the same time. So,
and if he's in her ear right now, you never know if she's, what kind of conversations might come out of there. So fingers crossed. But
the question is, would you come see it if we do some stuff? That's the question.
100%. I am there for it. I am, I'm just take my money. I'm already like, just take my money, but seriously, take it. I'm there. Yeah.
Right on. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, it would be a special moment if we got to see everybody connect. But I want to talk a little bit about the work you're doing now. Tell me a little bit about Fierce Alchemist. Tell me a little bit about how you started the company, and you're traveling all around the world with us as well too.
Yeah. So thank you for asking that. Fierce Alchemist is a rebrand of the coaching work. So I started working as a life coach softly in 2009. That's when I launched my umbrella website, Living Front and Center. You can go to that and see all things coaching and empowerment, really. I have a whole clothing line, and this is one of them, and an online store. But I became a life coach because I know what it felt like to feel blocked up on the inside myself. And I did not want to wish that on anybody else, and I have a bit of a platform to be able to have people reach out and want to care about what I have to say. And so, it started with a dance for me. Well, it started really with my autobiography, Front and Center, How I Learned to Live There. That's why I wrote that book. That book did very well for me, got the best book through USA Book News in 2007, up against Simon & Schuster and Penguin and all these folks. I got to say, a great honor for me was that I got to share the bookshelves with Sidney Poitier. The week that my book dropped, his book dropped, and Jane Fonda's book dropped. I was at Barnes and Noble, dude, when my book came out. And I got the call from a buddy who was like, dude, I'm at Barnes and Noble. Like, your book is on the shelf. I was like, turn the car around. I went, and there was my book, and like Jane Fonda was a level of me, and I was literally on the shelf between Jane Fonda and Sidney Poitier, and there's Carlton Wilborn's book. So anyway, so that was really my getting free, is what I call it. I started doing some speaks on that. I strategically positioned that book so that the elements of my story and my journey could lead into a cross section of people and issues and things. And from doing that, people kept saying, wow, I wish I had some guideposts like this to serve me. I heard that for a number of years. And then in 2011, I dropped my official workbook curriculum called I Am Empowered, Igniting Freedom, Courage, and Healing. and that's an 8 principle deep thing. And so I started doing some workshops around there with nonprofits and individuals, and just starting to get clearer and clearer about who I am specific, why God chose me with all the different facets of who I am. Because when I started coaching, I really just thought that I was going to be like a chocolate version of Anthony Robbins, like on the real, you know. But I knew that the podium version exclusively I was bigger than that, and I had more to bring than that. And it was honestly on the heels of a guy who was from Anthony Robbins' camp that got wind of me, reached out to me and said, "Hey, I see what you're up to." He was in Anthony Robbins' work, man. Like, he was inside of his business, and said, "I Googled you. I see what you're about. I would love to come on as a soft coach. No money involved. I want to help you get bigger." The website that I have, he helped me build. But he was the one that kept asking me, "Why you, why you, why you?" And I knew that I had this movement background behind me, but I was really shy about just sitting on being a dancer and having everything leveraged off of that. God knows how to do what he does. So in 2013 is when I birthed Dance Formation. That's the, again, first ever movement based through dance, life coaching curriculum. And then from that, my Fierce Alchemist came during COVID. Everybody was doing a pivot. I couldn't access people live the way that I would do with my Dance Formation event and the workshops that I was doing. So I had 42 videos shot during COVID that are companion pieces for my workbook curriculum. So each video is targeting each of the 8 principles, as well as each of the 5 components inside of each principle. And I started looking at my own journey, and I thought, what are you most? Are you dancer most? Are you actor most? Are you coach work? Like, I'm an alchemist. Like, I shapeshift. Yeah. I literally shapeshift. I shapeshift from when I was diagnosed HIV positive to becoming undetectable. I shapeshifted from being sexually abused for 8 years, from 8 to 13, and being traumatized by that, to getting free from that, meeting my perpetrator when I was 27, 30 years old, So that's really a nice, and then I thought, part of me, while, I embrace my guy thing, I also like to be a little fierce and fabulous, and the M thing helped me know how to bring that even bigger. So I was like, Fierce Alchemist. That's it. So that's how that brand came about. And so right now it's really great. And, that's a lot of what I'm going to get to be speaking about when I'm in Thailand. Dance Formation specifically is what's taking me to Milan. The first installment of me leaving the country to do Dance Formation took me to China. I got to do some really great work there, and then got to do a empowerment speak at a private school in China. So, Rudy, for me to look at myself as this little Black boy from the South Side of Chicago that has been sent, is the word that I use now, to do the work that I do. It started, with a lot of the work that I did with Hubbard Street being the first Black man for that company, the premier company of the city. Stands out. It's making a difference for people, giving people more hope to see me through them, or them through me, or however you want to say it. And then, of course, the Madonna thing. Again, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that I was creating a trajectory that would make a difference for so many people, but that's what God has me for. So I'm grateful to be able to use my journey, my story. I'm so glad that I'm free from a lot of things, or at least more free, and I get to help a bunch of other people get free. And
you're such a light and such an inspiration to so many people, because obviously with all the things that you talked about, especially growing up early, could traumatize and set somebody back for a lifetime. And that could be their journey, and the way that you've powered through it and didn't let let certain things hold you back, at least on the outside. Obviously we all have work to do on the inside, but just seeing, and especially too, and you think early 90s, a lot of the messages we saw, especially in regards to the gay community, was Freddie Mercury passing away, people dying from the AIDS crisis, and there wasn't a positive light, especially for there was no social media, there was no Will and Grace. You didn't see what it looked like for friends to be together, for guys to kiss each other, and you were just being yourselves. And like, look at, just by being you, the change you've made in the world.
Yeah, and you're spot on. And to that, it's like I didn't have an example, and look, because again, truth be told, I was on both of those tours HIV positive.
Huh.
Right. And so to even figure out, like, how do I find my own inner strength when we're dealing against climate issues, going up on stage at night when it's raining and it's cold and I got a Speedo on and that's all, and I'm bare chested. I didn't have any example other than my soul. But that's why she and I connect in the way that we do, because of the fierce warrior that she has proven to be. And so, yeah, anyway.
All right, two blonde ambition questions, and then I'll let you go. I could talk to you for like 7 hours, so maybe we'll just make a time and we'll just catch up and chat for that long.
Sure.
First one, as far as being able to sing "Happy Birthday" to your mom at Madison Square Garden, tell me a little bit about maybe asking M for that, or saying like, "Hey, it's her big birthday."
I didn't ask her anything about that. No, she asked me, and she said, "I know your mom is here. Do you want to sing Happy Birthday?" I was like, "What the fuck? Oh my God!" It was great. Yeah, that was incredible. Madison Square Garden, light goes boom to the woman in the crowd. All the people turn, and she gets to. Yeah, it was incredible for my mom.
What does she say about that experience? She's no longer with us, but she's with us in spirit. But what does she say?
Johnny made this painting that's right behind me in green. That's in honor of my mom. It's traveled with me to many houses. Listen, mom was a peacock in her own right. So she was obviously super excited about it when Truth or Dare landed, and the reality that my mom was in Truth or Dare singing My Man in the hallway, and her girlfriends took her out to brunch. And then, come on, dude. Like, that was incredible for my mom. She was super excited. And, so she was into it, of course. Yeah.
Awesome. And then the final thing, as far as the 2 dates at the Rosemont Horizon, which is now called the Allstate Arena, what do you remember about coming back home to Chicago to play those 2 shows? Family there, was it a special, different type of feeling playing here? I already see you saying yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. I mean, it was, it was the moment that, like, I'm in Chicago, because her tours back then, again, I do have to say I'm super grateful that I got to be on the road with her when I did, because that's when the record labels had money. That's when money was big and people were investing in things. So we only traveled privately on private jets and things like that, and had our own chefs at the venue, our own waiters on the plane that knew what your drink was. So when I was in Chicago, and my really good girlfriend, Ginger Farley, who's still my girl, she's actually going to be out here tomorrow. We're going to get to hang.
Awesome.
That I get to, invite her to come have a drink with me on the plane. And, that image that you have from the movies, and she drove to the private thing, but 25 yards from the steps of the plane, and came on, and we had a Jack and Ginger and had whatever we wanted to drink. And then, okay, we're about to fly. And then she steps off. Like, that was amazing. Being able to, yes, I had family there. I had friends from Hubbard Street come out, and, I was the one that got out, man, at that level, at that time. And so it was incredible. It was everything. It was everything. It was awesome.
Well, you are everything. And Carlton, thank you so much for your time today. This has been such a wonderful, wonderful chat, and it's been wonderful to catch up.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Always great to see you. Always great to see you.
Great to see you as well, too. And we'll keep tabs. We'll see what happens with the tour. Fierce Alchemist, you can go ahead and check them out on Facebook and on Instagram as well, too. And you can follow Carlton Wilborn Rising on Instagram. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, sir. Godspeed.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Awesome. It went a little long, but thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, it was awesome, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
I had fun chatting with you. Thank you.
So when will this post, and when can I see it?
Probably Thursday.
Oh, fantastic.
Perfect. Yeah. And I'll talk to you, and I'll let you know when it's up.
Okay, buddy.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.